This is Guatemala, once the heartland of the ancient Mayan civilization. Today we're exploring the beauty of Guatemala, a country nestled in Central America, known for its rich Mayan heritage, stunning landscapes, and vibrant culture. Stick around till the end to immerse yourself in the flavors of Guatemalan cuisine and discover hidden gems that define this captivating country. Guatemala is located in Central America, bordering Mexico, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. The country can be divided into four main geographical regions. The Pacific coastal plain runs along the Pacific Ocean and contains Guatemala's largest city, Guatemala City. The northern highlands stretch from Mexico south through central Guatemala and contain many volcanoes and mountains. The Petén region in northern Guatemala contains lowland rainforests and many Mayan archaeological sites. The eastern highlands border Honduras and contain Lake Izabal, Guatemala's largest lake. Three mountain chains run through Guatemala, which contribute to its varied landscape. The Sierra Madre stretches along the Pacific coast, while the Cuchumatanes and Chuacas mountain ranges run parallel to each other through central Guatemala. Guatemala has a tropical climate that varies by elevation. The low-lying regions are hot and humid, while the highland areas experience cooler temperatures. It has a wet season from May to October and is prone to tropical storms. The country has several significant lakes and river systems. Lake Izabal is the country's largest lake at over 565 square kilometers. Lake Atitlan is a deep crater lake surrounded by volcanoes and a popular tourist destination. The longest river is the Motagua River, which forms part of the border with Honduras. These rivers and their tributaries provide water for irrigation and hydroelectric power. The earliest known settlements in Guatemala date back thousands of years to the Archaic period. The ancient Mayan civilization began to develop around 2000 BC and reached its peak during the Classic period from 250 AD to 900 AD. The Mayans built impressive city-states across Mesoamerica, including sites like Tikal, El Mirador, and Caminaljuyu in what is now Guatemala. They constructed tall step pyramids, palaces, temples, observatories, and ball courts out of stone and wood. They developed a complex writing system of hieroglyphs and texts, including the famous Popol Vuh creation story. The ancient Mayan made advancements in art, architecture, mathematics, astronomy, and complex calendar systems. Mayan mathematics utilized the concept of zero and large numbers. The Mayans were skilled farmers, architects, traders, and artisans. While the southern lowlands declined around 900 AD, the northern Mayans continued to thrive into the post-classic period until the Spanish conquest. Remnants of the great ancient Mayan civilization can still be seen across Guatemala through archaeological sites, architecture, and Mayan descendants, keeping ancient traditions alive. It represents a critical foundation of Guatemalan history and identity. In the early 1500s, the Spanish arrived and conquered the Mayans and other indigenous peoples. Guatemala was part of the Captaincy General of Guatemala under Spanish colonial rule. The Spanish destroyed many Mayan texts and converted them to Christianity. There were some Mayan uprisings against Spanish rule. Guatemala gained independence in 1821. After independence, Guatemala briefly became part of the First Mexican Empire and then the Federal Republic of Central America before becoming fully independent in 1839. It experienced political instability and power struggles between liberals and conservatives. From the late 19th century to 1944, Guatemala was ruled by dictators closely allied to the United Fruit Company and the United States. A democratic government ruled from 1945 to 1954 until a US-backed coup. This began 36 years of civil war as leftist rebels fought against a series of military regimes. Indigenous Mayans were targeted by the military. The civil war finally ended in 1996. Since then, Guatemala has worked to rebuild and recover, though it continues to face challenges such as poverty, inequality, and corruption. The indigenous Mayans make up about 40 to 60% of the population in Guatemala. The largest Mayan group are the Quiche people, followed by the Cachiquel, Mam, Quechua, and other Mayan groups. Each Mayan ethnicity has its own distinct language, traditional clothing, and cultural practices. About 40% of Guatemalans are mestizo, meaning they have a mix of European and indigenous ancestry. There are small numbers of Europeans, especially Spanish and German descendants. There are also minor groups with African, Asian, and Middle Eastern roots. Roman Catholicism is the predominant religion, with 50 to 60% of Guatemalans identifying as Catholic. However, Mayan people often blend Catholic practices with indigenous spiritual beliefs. About 40% of the population is Protestant. There are also small numbers of Jews, Muslims, and other faiths. Indigenous Mayan religions are still practiced, especially in rural areas. These belief systems revolve around forces of nature, ancestors, and complex Mayan calendar systems. Spanish is the official language and is used by most Guatemalans. However, there are over 20 different Mayan languages spoken. The main ones are Quiche, Cachiquel, Quechua, and Mam. Some Mayans are monolingual in their native language. The government recognizes 23 Amerindian languages alongside Spanish. Guatemala's GDP is around $95 billion according to World Bank estimates. It has a predominantly agricultural economy. Major agricultural exports include coffee, sugar, and bananas. Guatemala is one of the world's largest exporters of both coffee and bananas. Other agricultural products include corn, beans, cardamom, and vegetables. Manufacturing and tourism are also important parts of the economy. Major industries include food processing, clothing, furniture, and pharmaceuticals. Key manufacturing exports include sugar, textiles, and clothing. Tourism is focused around Guatemala's natural beauty and Mayan archaeological sites. Despite some economic development in recent years, Guatemala still faces many challenges. It has a GDP per capita of around $8,200, making it a middle-income nation. However, inequality remains high, with over 50% of the population below the poverty line. Guatemala's economy struggles with low tax revenues, corruption, and an uncertain political climate. Reliance on only a few agricultural exports makes it vulnerable to weather events and global prices. The United States is Guatemala's top trading partner, accounting for over a third of its exports and a quarter of its imports. Other major partners are neighboring Central American and Latin American countries. Guatemalan literature originated with pre-Hispanic Mayan hieroglyphic writing and epic poems like the Popol Vuh. During Spanish colonial rule, literature was primarily written by Europeans. After independence, Guatemalan writers began to emerge, such as José Milla and Rafael Spinola. Notable 20th century authors include Miguel Ángel Asturias, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, and Luis Cardoza y Aragon, known for combining surrealism and Mayan myths. Guatemalan art reflects both Spanish colonial and indigenous Mayan influences. Prominent types of art include painting, weaving, wood carving, and pottery. Cachiquel painter Andrés Kurucic is renowned for works depicting Mayan life. Indigenous weaving and fabric arts use bright colors and patterns, like the traditional Mayan blouses called huipiles. Indigenous Mayan music remains an essential part of Guatemalan culture. This includes playing on instruments like marimbas, maracas, chirimías, flutes, and tun wooden drums. Guatemalan cuisine reflects the country's diverse cultural influences, from indigenous Mayan flavors to Spanish colonial ingredients. Corn, beans, chili peppers, and rice are dietary staples. Popular dishes include tamales, plantains, chorizo sausage, and different stews. Tostadas are a popular Guatemalan snack or appetizer. They consist of a fried corn tortilla topped with tomato sauce, cabbage, lettuce, chicken, pork, beef, or other meats, and cheese. They are often garnished with avocado or radish. Tamales are a signature Guatemalan dish made from masa dough, stuffed with seasoned meat, vegetables, or cheese, wrapped in banana leaves or corn husks, and steamed. Pache de pollo is a traditional chicken soup. It contains whole chicken pieces, ham, rice, vegetables, and herbs cooked in broth. The dish was likely influenced by Spanish cocido stew. Pache de pollo takes hours to prepare, but provides a protein-rich, hearty meal. Jocon is another iconic Guatemalan meat stew layered with plantains, potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, and herbs. The name comes from the Mayan word for sauce. Jocon can feature chicken or beef. This filling one-pot meal has a deep, earthy flavor profile. If you enjoyed this video of Guatemala, you'll love this next one.
A landlocked country in Southeast Asia, hosting a colorful history and even more colorful people, let us take a trip into the wild lands of the Lao people, where Buddhism prospers to this day. Welcome to Laos. The story of Laos begins with the Lao prince Fa Ngum, who founded Lan Xang, the first Laotian state in Angkor. From 1353 to 1371, he was able to expand the territories of this up-and-coming kingdom, which included what is now Laos and northern and eastern Thailand. He also helped extend the Khmer civilization, a consequence of which was the introduction of Theravada Buddhism to the Laotian people. Fa Ngum was succeeded by his son, Un Huiyun, who was able to expand on the defenses and the administration of the kingdom. A long peace would come after his death in 1416. However, territorial disputes still occurred every so often. This peace was broken by the ruler Pothisarath, who involved the kingdom in wars against Myanmar and the Siamese kingdom of Ayutthaya for 2 centuries. When King Pothisarath died, he was succeeded by his son, Sethathirat, who established Buddhism as the most proliferant religion in the kingdom of Lan Xang in the 16th century. The kingdom would eventually decline in the 17th century. This was due to a number of factors, but the biggest culprit was the kingdom's conflict with its neighboring kingdom states. By the 18th century, Siam was able to establish its hegemony over the entirety of the territory, in what is now present-day Laos. It was divided into 3 principalities, namely Luang Prabang, Vientiane, and Champasak. The Siamese expansion towards Vietnam and Luang Prabang provoked French protests who had already established a protectorate in Vietnam. In 1886, France managed to install a vice-consul in Luang Prabang under Auguste Pavier, who was able to convince the Laotian population to side with the French. The French were eventually able to annex Laos thanks to different treaties with Siam around 1904 and 1907. The French established a new protectorate in Laos centered on Vientiane and gave it autonomy. When Laos was invaded by the Japanese during the Second World War, the French Vichy government was forced to restore Thai territories that were taken by the French in 1904. By 1945, Japan had full administrative control over Laos. Two movements started during this period, one anti-Japanese, another anti-French. They were at odds with each other. Eventually, France allowed the Laotian kingdom limited autonomy under the French Union. During the First Indochina War, tired of French interference in local affairs, Prince Souphanouvong proclaimed a new political movement called the Pathet Lao, or Land of the Lao, in 1950. They joined the Viet Minh in fighting against French occupation until the Geneva Peace Conference in 1954, where they were able to achieve independence, albeit for a time. After the Geneva Accords, the French control over most of mainland Southeast Asia ended. It was agreed upon that Laos would still be under the royal government without any partitioning of the country. However, the country became divided under communist and royalist forces. Hostilities broke out between these factions until another convention in Geneva in May 1961 resulted in an agreement wherein Laos's neutrality was called for. American and Vietnamese presence forced Laos to play a role in the Second Indochina War. It became one of the most bombed countries in the entire world. 1972 gave birth to the Lao People's Revolutionary Party, joining a coalition government in 1973. Continuous communist victories in mainland Vietnam and Laos rallied the anti-royalist forces, and by 1975, the king abdicated from his throne, ending a 600-year-old monarchy. The Lao People's Revolutionary Party became the main power in Laos, guiding the country's politics until today. The newly established republic was called the Laos People's Democratic Republic. The 1990s brought about rapid economic growth for Laos, being assisted by Japan, Western Europe, Australia, and other nations. By 1994, a bridge was constructed connecting Laos with Thailand, which ushered in new trading opportunities. In 1997, Laos became a full-fledged member of ASEAN. The current GDP of Laos is valued at $15 billion. With a highly agricultural economy, Laos relies on agri-produce. However, it still heavily remains dependent on foreign aid and investment. The top agricultural products of Laos are cassava, root vegetables, rice, sugarcane, vegetables, bananas, maize, rubber, coffee, and watermelons. Despite its economy, Laos also has heavy industries including, but not limited to, mining, copper, tin, gold, gypsum, timber, electric power, agricultural processing, rubber, construction, garments, and cement. It also has a growing tourism industry. The Laos flag is one of the rare communist flags without the depiction of a star. It consists of 3 stripes, 2 red and 1 blue, with a disc in the middle. The red stripes symbolize spilled by the revolutionaries, the blue stripe represents wealth. The white disc represents the moon rising over the Mekong River and being united under communist rule. Laos has a total landmass of around 237,000 square kilometers, or 92,000 square miles. The capital of Laos is Vientiane. One of the most famous rivers in the world can be found in Laos, the Mekong River, which is also the lowest point in the country. The highest point of Laos is Phu Bia, which stands 2,800 meters above sea level, or 9,200 feet. Laos, being part of mainland Southeast Asia, has a tropical climate. The maximum average temperature for the entirety of the country is 31 degrees Celsius or 81 degrees Fahrenheit, and the lowest average temperature is 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Laos has a total population of around 8 million inhabitants, 53% of whom are of Lao descent. Other indigenous groups make up the population, which include the Khmu, Hmong, Phuthai, Thai, and several others. The government of Laos officially recognizes 49 ethnic groups. However, the demonym for all indigenous groups fall under the Laotian umbrella. The official language of Laos is Lao, with the second languages being French and English. The primary religion of Laos is Buddhism, with around 65% of the population adhering to the religion. While the majority of the population is religious, around 31% do not belong to any religious group or denomination. Let's talk about food. Here are some famous dishes from Laos that will surely sate your appetite and give you a glimpse into Laotian culture. First, we have khao nu, sticky rice cooked in a thin khao or rice basket, which is a staple at every meal and a key element of Laotian dining. Next, we have mu hang and sien hang, sun-dried pork and sun-dried beef respectively. These snacks are often enjoyed as street food and are a testament to the Laotian tradition of preserving meats. For those looking for a lighter option, there is tam muk muang, or green mango salad, which combines the tangy freshness of green mango with tomatoes, garlic, and cashews. This dish is popular for its refreshing and zesty flavors. Lastly, we have naim khao, or crispy coconut rice, made from shredded coconut, pork, and rice. This dish is enjoyed for its unique texture and rich flavors, often served during festive occasions and family gatherings. Here are some famous people from Laos. Some of them you might recognize from the history books. Suvarna Phuma, who became Prime Minister of Laos on numerous occasions. Who could forget Sethathirath, one of the best-known leaders in Laotian history? And for the football enthusiasts, some of you may be familiar with Visay Papuvanin, a striker for the Laotian national football team. Lastly, we also have Fa Ngum, the legendary founder of the Kingdom of Lan Xang, the foundation of present-day Laos. If you enjoyed this video on Laos, you'll love this next one.
Did you know that Moscow's architecture spans over 600 years of history, blending medieval, Asian, Byzantine, and Neo-Russian styles? You'll also find skyscrapers and other modern marvels here. If you're curious about which landmarks capture Moscow's unique history, culture, and beauty, you're in the right place. Today, we're exploring 5 of the most iconic and breathtaking architectural gems that define the city's charm and grandeur. Then, stick around for a bonus attraction you won't want to miss. First up at number 5 is Kremlin, a historic complex at the heart of the city with tons of photo-worthy spots. One of which is the Grand Kremlin Palace, which was built from 1837 to 1849 under the rule of Tsar Nicholas I. It's a remarkable attraction that celebrates both beauty and history. It features an ornate Rococo style, and it stands as the official residence of none other than the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. Although tours to the inner sanctum of the palace are temporarily suspended, you can still enjoy the lavish facade and explore the surrounding areas, like the Armory Chamber. The Armory Chamber is a world-renowned treasure trove of precious and priceless ancient Russian regalia, royal vestments, gold and silverware, arms and armor, royal carriages, and so much more. Admission is 1,200 rubles with discounts for kids, and if you prefer, you can snag an audio guide for 1,600 rubles. On top of those, you can also check out the cathedrals in the district. The notable ones include the Assumption Cathedral, which has been the principal cathedral of the Russian state and the burial place of patriarchs and metropolitans for centuries, the Archangel Cathedral, which is the burial place of the Grand Princes of Moscow, and the Annunciation Cathedral, which is one of the oldest monuments that houses rich works of art. You'll find these at Cathedral Square, where you can admire the stunning architecture and the intricate interiors for 800 rubles. And if you'd like an audio guide, it's available for 1,200 rubles. Coming in at number 4, we have Arbat Street, arguably the most famous street in all of Moscow. Located in the historic center of the capital, between Arbatskaya and Smolenskaya Sanaya squares, this 1.2-kilometer stretch is lined with buildings in diverse architectural styles. So let me take you on a walking tour, starting from Arbatskaya Metro Station, Line 3. Opened in 1953, it's one of the city's most luxurious stations, featuring elements of Moscow Baroque, including marble, multicolored granite floors, chandeliers, floral reliefs, and arches. As you exit the station, you'll spot the reception house of the Government of the Russian Federation, also known as the Arseny Morozov House. Its unique architectural style blends Art Nouveau and eclecticism, which is quite a rare combination in Moscow. Next, head to Arbatskaya Square to find the Khudojestvenny movie house. Originally opened as a theater in 1909, this venue is famous for hosting the premiere of the first Soviet sound film. Continuing along Arbat Street, you'll reach the Prague Restaurant, which dates back to 1872. It's an emblematic landmark frequented by famous figures like Anton Chekhov, Leo Tolstoy, and Ivan Bunin. A little further down, you'll come across the Vakhtangov State Academic Theater, a cultural spot built in 1921. Although it was nearly destroyed during an airstrike in 1941, it was rebuilt between 1946 and 1947 and later restored in 2011. The theater now accommodates 1,055 seats and remains a hub of creativity and artistic performances. At the intersection of 37 Arbat Street and Krivoarbatsky Street, you'll find the Tsoi Wall, a graffiti wall paying tribute to the late Russian rock star Viktor Tsoi and his band, Kino. This wall serves as a memorial for Tsoi, who passed away in a car accident in 1990. Tourists come and visit to commemorate his music. That's not all. As you continue along the street, you'll discover a variety of interesting statues, buildings, and shops. All in all, plan to spend at least 2 hours exploring, or longer if you decide to stop for a meal or some shopping. At number 3, we have the most iconic structure in Moscow, St. Basil's Cathedral. Constructed between 1555 and 1561 by the order of Ivan the Terrible, this landmark memorializes the capture of Kazan and Astrakhan. What makes this architectural marvel stand out is its vibrant, bulbous domes that blend Russian, Byzantine, and Asian architectural styles. With a history spanning nearly 500 years, it has become a symbol of Russia's cultural identity, serving various purposes over time, from a church to a museum, and now as an emblem of Russian heritage. Because of this, it has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Legend has it that Ivan the Terrible ordered the architects to be blinded so they could never create anything equally beautiful ever again. So if you want to revel in this one-of-a-kind masterpiece, visit it during the day to see its vivid colors in full effect, and at night to see it illuminated after dark. While some might be content to admire it from the outside, I recommend taking the extra step to explore the interior. For 700 rubles, you can experience the cathedral's rich history up close. Inside, you'll discover that the domes belong to 9 distinct chapels, each with its own symbolism. The central tower houses the Church of the Intercession of the Mother of God. Surrounding it are 4 larger chapels atop octagonal towers: the Church of St. Cyprian and Justina, the Church of the Holy Trinity, the Church of the Icon of St. Nicholas, the Miracle Worker, and the Church of the Entry of the Lord into Jerusalem. The 4 smaller towers in between pay tribute to the struggle against Kazan, and you guessed it, the interiors are just as mesmerizing as the cathedral's facade. From one chapel to the next, you'll uncover the cathedral's medieval past, learn about the Russian holy fools, and discover hidden wall compartments where treasures were kept. Plus, you'll get to explore the secrets of the cathedral's unique acoustics. St. Basil's Cathedral is an absolute must-see, so be sure to make time for it. Moving on to number 2, take some time to wander around the iconic Red Square after exploring St. Basil's Cathedral. Known for its striking architecture and grand buildings, Red Square is not just the heart and soul of Moscow, but of Russia as a whole. Standing in the midst of it and taking in the surroundings, it's easy to assume the name comes from the red brick buildings, or perhaps as a nod to the communist past. But that's not the case at all. The Russian word for red, which is krasnaya, closely resembles the word krasivaya, meaning beautiful. Originally, it was called the Beautiful Square, but the name got lost in translation. Beyond St. Basil's, Red Square offers several other impressive landmarks. One that stands out is the Moscow State Historical Museum. It's one of 7 museums, and it has a striking neoclassical facade. Inside, it showcases more than 4 million artifacts related to Russian history, and you'll need at least a couple of hours to fully appreciate even a portion of what it has to offer. Another must-see is GUM, Russia's official State Department store, which has become a hotspot for shoppers. Entering through the grand golden doors, you'll find over 150 luxury and world-renowned brands offering clothing and accessories for all tastes. On the surface, you might think that 150 shops is plenty, but it's nothing compared to the 1,000 stores it housed in the past. After a stroll around the department store, continue your cultural journey with a visit to Lenin's mausoleum, which opened in 1930. Despite its small size, it houses the embalmed corpse of the communist leader, Vladimir Lenin, who played a pivotal role in the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. Although admission is free, there are always crowds of people lining up. So be prepared to wait, because it may take you an hour before you can enter. With so many attractions packed into one area, it's ideal to spend at least a full day here. And if you don't manage to cover everything, you can always return another day to see the rest. As you can tell by now, the architecture in Moscow is unlike anything you've seen before. It's so detailed, vibrant, and incredibly spectacular. But before we uncover what's at the top spot, here's a little bonus attraction I promised earlier. I'm taking you to Sergeyev Posad, the Orthodox Pearl of the Moscow region. Located 70 kilometers northeast of the capital, this quaint Russian town is home to the famous Trinity Lavra of St. Sergius Monastery, a centuries-old spiritual center of the Russian Orthodox Church. Besides the monastery, you can visit the local craft market to find unique souvenirs, savor traditional Russian delicacies at one of the town's restaurants, or explore the nearby museums, such as the Museum of Toys, showcasing over 30,000 toys, and the State History and Art Museum Preserve, featuring Russian decorative and applied arts. So, if you have an extra day to spare, plan a trip to this medieval city. Are you ready to see what's number 1 on the list? Taking the top spot is Kolomenskoye, a former royal estate located on the right bank of the Moskva River. Today, it's a public park featuring well-maintained gardens and stunning white stone churches, offering visitors a glimpse into Russia's royal past. One of the most interesting attractions here is the Museum of Wooden Architecture, founded by Pyotr Baranovsky. This open-air museum showcases significant structures from across Russia, each reflecting the country's diverse architectural heritage. The highlight, however, is the Grand Palace, which was built in 1667 by Tsar Alexis I. Crafted entirely from wood, the palace is famous for its enchanting fairy tale-like roofs and complex layout. The structure includes 250 rooms spread across 26 interconnected buildings, with a maze of halls and corridors linking them together. Do you want to learn a little fun fact about the palace? It was built without using any fasteners, like hooks or nails, which was groundbreaking. It's definitely one of those sites that you have to see to believe. Moscow's blend of stunning architecture and rich history makes it an unforgettable destination that you need to witness at least once in your life. Among the 5 landmarks, let me know which structure intrigued you the most in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love this next one.
Once the predominant power in the world, a symbol of supremacy in the past. From its humble beginnings as an Anglo-Saxon nation to its domination of the seas, let's discover the United Kingdom, its history, its culture, and its people. Before we proceed, this portion will only cover the United Kingdom's history as a whole. If you want an in-depth history of the nations that comprise the kingdom, please let me know in the comments below. In the 6th century AD, Anglo-Saxon invaders from mainland Europe managed to find their way and establish their own territory in what is now England. They converted to Christianity, and from 900 to 1400 AD were ruled by Vikings, Danes, and Norman invaders. The Celtic and Pict populations were able to maintain their sovereignty during this era. During the 13th century, the descendants of these Anglo-Saxons, who now called themselves the English, invaded and annexed the Kingdom of Gwynedd, or what is now Wales. And 200 years later, on August 22, 1485, A Welsh noble, Henry Tudor, claimed the English crown, naming himself Henry VII, the first monarch of the Tudor dynasty. Welsh territory was united with England in 1536 as a result. Scotland, land of the Picts, was also eventually united with England too. But this was at the cost of lives during the wars to keep Scottish independence. England also invaded the neighboring island of Ireland and fully controlled the island by the late 1600s. Alas, the island was now united as one, and from that unification was born the Great Kingdom of Great Britain after the Acts of Union on May 1st, 1707. The kingdom was first ruled by Queen Anne until her death on August 1st, 1714. In 1801, the kingdom was formally named the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. During this burgeoning period in the kingdom's life, it was able to colonize North America in what would become the future United States of America. This was driven by the need to exploit natural resources needed to fuel the economy of the kingdom and its constituent nations. More than that, it was also to establish control over territories as a solution to the spread of the Spanish and French empires. As a whole, the United Kingdom, together with its colonies, trading posts, dominions, and so on, were called the British Empire, the largest empire to ever exist in human history. Other dominions include India, some areas of Africa, and even Canada. The North American colonies, tired of British rule, rebelled and managed to gain their independence from the empire. This Revolutionary War would last from 1775 to 1783. The United Kingdom shifted its focus from North America after the war and instead looked towards the east in what is now India. It established the East India Trading Company as a way to maintain control over the subcontinent. They started to slowly but surely colonize the territory, and by 1858, full colonization was completed. Competition between European powers and the race to gaining colonies were a few reasons why the First World War began. The United Kingdom and its allies were able to defeat their German opponents and its allies. But alas, an independence movement was brewing in Ireland, while soldiers were fighting overseas. This culminated in the Irish War of Independence, which would last until 1921. The war brought about the ratification of the Irish Free State Act of 1922, which stated that the southern part of the island would become the Irish Free State, what is now present-day Ireland. The 6 counties that chose to stay with the UK were now collectively known as Northern Ireland. When the Second World War broke out, the United Kingdom was one of the first belligerent nations. After Poland was invaded, the kingdom became the first to assist the country. It would later be joined by the United States, the Soviet Union, and a number of allied countries to defeat Nazi Germany once and for all. The kingdom would also become one of the first to join the United Nations, established after the war. It also joined the EU in 1973. Due to the toll brought about by 2 consecutive wars, the United Kingdom saw it fit to withdraw from many of its colonies, which in turn allowed these colonies to gain independence. The great jewel of the British Empire, India, would also gain its independence in 1947. Northern Ireland continues to be a troublesome spot for the United Kingdom, as calls for independence still endure to this day. In what would be known as the Troubles, 4,000 people would die until the Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1988. Just recently, the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union in what is now called Brexit. The GDP of the United Kingdom, according to the World Bank, is valued at $3.1 trillion. It is one of the richest states in the entirety of Europe. Its economy, beginning in the 19th century, has always been independent and developed. In fact, It was one of the first to industrialize and is considered the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. It is a highly developed social market economy. The primary contributing sector of the United Kingdom is the service sector, which makes up 79 to 82% of the entirety of the GDP. Although having a large service sector, the UK still has active agricultural and industrial sectors. Agricultural products include milk, wheat, barley, sugar beets, potatoes, chicken, rapeseed, oats, pork, and beef. Heavy industries found throughout the different countries comprising the state are industries on machine tools, electric power equipment, automation equipment, railroad equipment, shipbuilding, aircraft, motor vehicles and parts, electronics and communications equipment, metals, chemicals, coal, petroleum, paper and paper products, food processing, textiles, clothing, and other consumer goods. The flag of the United Kingdom, also known as the Union Jack. It combines the three crosses of England and Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. The three heraldic crosses are that of St. George, patron saint of England and Wales, the cross saltire of St. Andrew, patron saint of Scotland, and the cross saltire of St. Patrick, patron saint of Ireland. The capital of the United Kingdom is London, with a total land area of 244,000 square kilometers, or 94,000 square miles, including Northern Ireland. Located within the kingdom is the biggest island in Europe, the island of Great Britain. The United Kingdom's topography is mostly hilly with low mountains. The highest point is Ben Nevis, which is 1,300 meters or 4,300 feet above sea level. The lowest point is the Fens, 4 meters or 13 feet below sea level. The UK's climate is maritime, moist and temperate, with a moderate annual temperature range. The average temperature for the entirety of the UK is 18 to 25 degrees Celsius, or 64 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. There are approximately 68 million people that live in the United Kingdom's constituent nations. The United Kingdom is a multi-ethnic state with cultures from the English, Scottish, and Irish prevailing. However, due to former colonization of various areas of the world, the British were able to bring with them traditions from multiple parts of the world. Additionally, immigration has contributed greatly to the multiculturalism of the United Kingdom, despite there being a predominantly white society. While having a multitude of languages, including Welsh and Gaelic, English is the official language of the state. Majority of British people adhere to the Christian faith, while a large minority of 25% do not consider themselves a part of any religious denomination at all. The United Kingdom's food culture is as diverse as its people. Therefore, the number of dishes are astoundingly large and varies from one place to another. Here are some things you can try out. For breakfast, why not try a full English? Eggs, a cut of bacon, beans, toast, a sausage or two, some tomatoes, and whatever you want to add, it'll make you, that's right, full and ready for the morning grind. Yorkshire pudding, a pudding that isn't a pudding. It's made out of eggs, flour, milk, and fat. And no, it isn't a dessert either. For the exotic lovers, black pudding is made from congealed blood and oats. Sounds bad, but it's actually quite good if you stop thinking about the blood. And last but not least, an all-time favorite amongst British families, shepherd's pie, made from meat and mashed potatoes. Not a pie, just meat and potatoes. The United Kingdom has got to have the greatest number of famous people in the world, and here are only some of them. Let's start off with the recently deceased royal, Queen Elizabeth, who ruled for 70 years until her death. She is quite arguably one of the most well-known individuals in contemporary history. Another famous historical figure is Winston Churchill, who led the United Kingdom towards victory during the Second World War. Stephen Hawking, theoretical physicist, cosmologist, and author, was British and was well known for battling amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And last but not least, the ever-famous Beatles, your mom and dad's favorite band of all time. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, idolized by the masses forever. If you enjoyed this video on the United Kingdom, you'll love this next one.
North Macedonia, a land of rich history and breathtaking landscapes. Discover how this nation resolved a nearly 30-year name dispute with Greece, and immerse yourself in the vibrant cultural heritage and stunning natural beauty that define North Macedonia. Stay with us to uncover this intriguing country's geography, history, and culture. North Macedonia is a small, landlocked country located in southeastern Europe. It borders Serbia to the north, Kosovo to the northwest, Bulgaria to the east, Greece to the south, and Albania to the west. North Macedonia covers an area of about 9,927 square miles, making it one of the smaller countries in Europe. The country can be divided into several main geographical regions. The southwestern part of the country consists of a mountainous region that is part of the Dinaric Alps. This includes North Macedonia's highest point, Mount Korab. The central region contains several fertile river valleys and basins, including the Pelagonia Valley. The Vardar River, North Macedonia's longest river, flows through this valley. The northeastern part of North Macedonia consists of high plains and plateaus. This includes the Ovche Pole Plateau, which covers about 386 square miles. In addition to the Vardar River, North Macedonia has many other important bodies of water. Lake Ohrid, located along the border with Albania, is one of Europe's deepest and oldest lakes. It is a popular tourist destination known for its scenic views. North Macedonia is home to a population of about 2 million people. The country has a diverse mix of ethnicities, religions, and languages. The two largest ethnic groups in North Macedonia are Macedonians and Albanians. About 64% of the population is ethnic Macedonian, while 25% is ethnic Albanian. Macedonians largely reside in the central and eastern areas of the country. Albanians primarily live in the western regions bordering Albania. There are also smaller minorities, including Turks, Roma, Serbs, Bosniaks, and Vlachs. The main religions in North Macedonia are Orthodox Christianity and Islam. About 65% of the population practices Orthodox Christianity, mostly ethnic Macedonians. About 33% practices Islam, primarily ethnic Albanians. There are also small numbers of Roman Catholics, Protestants, and others. Religious sites include the Archbishopric of Ohrid, the painted mosques in Tetovo, and the monastery of St. Naum. The official language of North Macedonia is Macedonian, spoken by about 90% of the population. Albanian is also an official language and is spoken by around 36% of the people, especially in western regions. Minority languages include Turkish, Romani, Serbian, Bosnian, Aromanian, and others. North Macedonian cuisine is a delightful blend of Balkan, Turkish, and Mediterranean influences. Here are 4 signature dishes that reflect the country's diverse culinary heritage. Sarma are stuffed grapevine or cabbage leaves filled with a mixture of rice, onions, paprika, and minced meat. These hearty rolls are slowly simmered in a flavorful sauce. Banitsa is a flaky phyllo pastry pie made with different fillings. The traditional version is filled with spinach and feta cheese. Crispy cabbage banitsa is also popular. These savory pastries can be served for breakfast, lunch, or a snack. Pastamaglia is a baked cheese pie made with a thin, flaky dough and filled with bite-sized pieces of pastrami and cheese. The smoky meat and salty cheese make for an appetizing combination encased in the crisp pastry. Tarator is a chilled summer soup made from yogurt, cucumbers, walnuts, garlic, and dill. The refreshing, tangy tarator is often served as an appetizer on hot days. It's a light way to start a meal. The territory of North Macedonia was located within the boundaries of the ancient Kingdom of Macedon under Alexander the Great and Philip II. However, the Macedonian Empire was much larger, spanning areas of modern Greece, Bulgaria, Albania, and North Macedonia. After Alexander's death, the kingdom split up and declined. Eventually, the region came under Roman rule. In later centuries, the geographic area of the former Kingdom of Macedon was progressively divided between different powers. By the 9th century, most of historic Macedonia was part of the Byzantine Empire, centered on Constantinople. Starting in the late 14th century, the Ottoman Empire conquered the region, which remained under Ottoman control for over 500 years. This long period left an Islamic influence. As the Ottoman Empire dissolved in the 1800s, the Macedonian region was fractured further. Present-day North Macedonia was integrated into Serbia in 1913. Greece gained the biggest share of geographic Macedonia, including the birthplace of Alexander the Great. Bulgaria, Albania, and North Macedonia held smaller parts. In 1991, following a democratic referendum, North Macedonia peacefully seceded from Yugoslavia and was initially known as the Republic of Macedonia. However, Greece objected to this name. The naming dispute between Greece and the Republic of Macedonia was a controversial issue that lasted over 2 decades. The background to the dispute dates back to the early 1900s, when the geographic region of Macedonia was divided between Greece, Bulgaria, and the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. In 1991, when Yugoslavia broke up, the Republic of Macedonia declared independence. However, Greece objected to the new country's constitutional name, the Republic of Macedonia. Macedonia. North Macedonia has made significant progress in reforming its economy since gaining independence in 1991. The country has transitioned from a socialist system to an open market economy, though it continues to face challenges. As of 2022, this country's GDP is roughly 13.5 billion, according to World Bank data. Key industries include agriculture, mining, textiles, steel, automobiles, and tourism. The informal sector makes up a significant portion of the economy. Economic growth averaged 3% annually from 2010 to 2018, but unemployment remains high at around 20%. Agriculture employs nearly a fifth of the workforce in North Macedonia. Major agricultural products are grapes, vegetables, tobacco, and grains. Mining of iron, zinc, and lead represents an important industry. Textile manufacturing and steel production are also significant. Foreign automakers have factories in the country. Tourism centered on Lake Ohrid and other scenic areas has growth potential. North Macedonia's main trading partners are Germany, Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Italy. Machinery, automobiles, and iron steel are key imports. Exports include food products, textiles, iron, and steel. Attracting foreign direct investment has been a priority, with the government providing incentives and establishing free economic zones. North Macedonia has a rich cultural heritage that has been influenced by its geographic location and ethnic diversity. Macedonia has a strong tradition of ecclesiastical art, sculpture, and architecture dating back to the Middle Ages. Famous fresco paintings can be found in churches and monasteries throughout the country, including the UNESCO-listed Ohrid Monastery. In the 20th century, modern art flourished with the work of Petar Mazev, Dimitar Pandilov, and many others. The country's leading art museums include the National Gallery of Macedonia and the Museum of Contemporary Art. If you enjoyed this video on North Macedonia, you'll love this next one.